Howdy, folks. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. It is damn cold in Buffalo. I'm really hoping for March and warmer weather.
You're hoping Phil was wrong.
Yeah, no, it's, well, you have to say it's like, I mean, you understand now why older people move to warmer temperatures.
Sure.
I mean, it really, when I was a kid, like I think I've mentioned it before, when I was a kid and you were out playing street hockey, you were out there for 6 hours and people were like, are these freaking kids crazy? And then you come in and your skin is so red because you've been out there for so long, and you hop in the tub and, it's like you're defrosting basically.
Yeah.
And now if you're out for 10 minutes, you feel like you're going to die.
Luckily, it's not that bad here. We've only had a couple really cold days, but we're saying it's cold here too, but it's not. It's not like it's cold where Pete lives or anything like that.
Yeah. So let's just start with the pre-show. Go ahead.
The pre-show. I'm going to steal something from a guy named Dave Cadmus on my Facebook page. They're going to now change the old Ernie Banks saying from let's play 2 to let's play 1.5. And and this is where
let's play 73%.
Right. I mean, he came up with it, and I said, you know what? It's great. If you think about it, that's never going back now. So if they have rainouts or whatever, they're doing 7-inning doubleheaders because this is the Manfred way. I know you're going to say, well, it's the pandemic. I don't trust them until I see otherwise, Mike. But here's the thing. If you like statistics, and most baseball fans do, statistics are doomed now.
Yeah.
You've got to have asterisks every year, or basically you've got to explain to everybody why numbers are different, why doubleheaders are different, why starting a runner at second base is different. Like, I don't start comparing guys who start now and maybe have more runs scored than someone else if they're getting a lot of RBIs and extra innings. Like, all of a sudden, all these things are going to matter because of all these stupid changes.
Yeah, alert on Twitter. Dustin May is pitching a perfect game. Oh, wait a second. It's in the first of a doubleheader. So
Exactly.
Even if he pitches a perfect game, it's a 7-inning perfect game, and it doesn't mean a good goddamn.
Right.
So, yeah, no, honestly, I mean, okay, they are doing this for the pandemic. They are doing it for, they're starting the run. I mean, I pray to God the runners and extra innings is a 1 year, one more year thing, and then they
don't say 1 year because it's already been one.
Right. But this year, because of the circumstances.
To interrupt, Funky, will Josh Gibson be the new MLB home run king? He should be, since they integrated the stats, but you know that's not going to happen. Anyhow, go ahead.
Right, but the problem is with that is they don't know definitively whether the stats for the Negro Leagues were accurate.
For those guys, they're as close as you could be to the early 1900s for Major League Baseball too. If you want to put it's the same jaundice eye for that. So I think you have to say it and leave it be. The other thing, Mike, you probably saw about the baseball because you posted the link. So the difference in the baseball now, and again, why are they changing the baseball every year?
I'll tell you why they're doing it this year.
Why? I know why too, because they screwed it up the last time. So now they're making it less lively. But it's leave it alone. Leave it alone.
But it's also a year going into a CBA negotiations. So they don't
want as many homers.
Right. They want offense to be down, so the contract demands and the pressure regarding the players is, and the hype regarding the fans and the media will be less. If somebody hits 75 home, you can't deprive us of Major League Baseball after so-and-so hits 75 home run. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I think that they want to tamp that stuff down because those, especially the fact that they're not going to have fans for probably most of the year. So why would they want somebody to break a home run record when there are no fans?
I don't think it's all that. What I heard also as an explanation from somebody, and I do agree with it, is that basically they want players to stop striking out so much, and they want the ball in play more.
Okay.
Because there is a stat out there that says, I don't know, it takes from the start of a game sometimes like 8 minutes or something for a ball to actually be in play. Right. And that is death to younger viewers because, again, I don't want to kill younger viewers or even, viewers in their 20s or 30s, but there is a lot of theatrics in your mind that goes on with baseball. And if you didn't play, then I understand why you don't see it. But baseball was never going to be the most exciting, fastest sport on earth. That's not the art of baseball. That has nothing to do with it. But we're in that kind of society now, so I get why that's happened. And I talked to, I just was on a conference call the other day with a bunch of Russian businessmen. No, I'm not running for office, so but it's going to be an article on Sportsology. But the idea was, I asked them about baseball, and they were all like, sons of ours played, and then they went on to a different sport. And I said, why? And they said, too slow. That is a factor. I think they're trying to put more balls in play to have there be more excitement. And yes, the launch angle is death to everything.
Well, more excitement, and it'll be quicker because if you have a player hitting on the first or second pitch and the ball's in play, more than likely it's going to, the odds are, 7 times out of 10 that it's going to be, or 8 times out of 10 that it's going to be an out. So the game will move along quicker. Whereas a pitcher trying to strike a batter out, and the guy's fouling it off, and it takes, like you said, 7 or 8 minutes for a batter. That could, I think they want to put to death the 3-hour game. I think they would love to have a game be 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Okay, but the game used to be that.
Yes.
And the biggest reasons, there's 2 big reasons why it's not. Batters stepping out. Yeah. Don't allow it. Don't allow it. Don't allow it.
The clock. They should have the I've seen the pitcher's clock in AAA. And the thing is, sometimes for some reason all of a sudden the clock goes off and then it comes back on again. So it's not like it's constantly running. But I don't know.
But batter stepping out wastes a ton of time, and then you know what? Have it only that the pitching coach gets one time to come out, and a manager could only come out twice a game, no matter what the circumstance. And that's it. No more players huddling up at the mound and then the umpire having to come out there and break them up. None of that. You do away with that, you go back to 2:15, 2.5.
Just a note here on baseball, and then I have a brief thing to talk about before we start the show. It was reported by a local affiliate, CBS affiliate, with spring training starting later this month. It has been learned that Salem Field, which is in Buffalo, which is the AAA field of the Toronto Blue Jays, which served as the Blue Jays' home last year, remains in play to host Blue Jays home games in 2021.
Of course it does.
While the Jays' first choice is still Toronto, they're spending more time on alternatives now. Those include their spring training facility in Dunedin and Buffalo. Okay, this is the thing. This is
they're going to choose Dunedin over Buffalo, though. You know that.
I don't know, Russ, because they've already spent the money to upgrade in Buffalo. So really,
I know, I get that, but
the amount of fans that they could have in Dunedin is negligible because it's not a very big ballpark. But this is the thing. Doug Ford, who is the premier of Ontario, is holding up the American Hockey League, the Belleville Senators and the Toronto Marlies, in terms of giving them the go-ahead to be able to play home games. They're playing the entire month of February on the road because the province of Ontario cannot make up their friggin' mind. So if that tells you anything, that tells you the Blue Jays are not playing in Toronto. At least, maybe not for at least the first few months.
It might be just for a month,
right? And if it's the case of, because most of these players, when they're in spring training, they have timeshares down in Florida, and afterwards.
That's why the players would prefer to play in Florida.
Well, right, but the problem is that they're locked into like a certain time frame, and then you can't extend it because they've already rented out these timeshares or something of that nature. So I don't know. I think there's a 50-50 chance they come back to Buffalo. The thing is, though, Buffalo in April. I mean, the reason it worked in Buffalo was because the season started in July and August. It was nice weather. Buffalo in April, it rains a ton. So, I mean, I don't know.
You should block Michael Cohen because he's like saying, my favorite baseball movie is The Fan, and I go,
yeah, that movie blows.
No.
And please keep with your impeachment talk. That'll get you banned. The last thing, I saw this on Twitter. I saw it on Reddit, and I didn't pick up on this, and I didn't know that the NBA had started the trend of skipping national anthems. But basically it was a post on Reddit. Should the NHL jump on the skipping national anthems bandwagon?
I don't have a problem with it because, again, the NFL, who took this front and center and eventually took money for it, used to always be in the locker room when it was played.
Right.
So the players weren't there. If you're having the anthem because you want to have the players there and you want to photograph them, which is what we see, then I say if you want to have the anthem and the players in the locker room, do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great visual to see as they pan through the bench, having William Nylander and other players shooting snot rockets out of their nose during the national anthem.
But what I'm basically saying is here, for the people that say you have to have the anthem, I say, would it matter as much to you if no players were on the field?
Yeah.
Or on the ice? That's
that's
when it gets commercialized.
Yeah, in the buildings as you said. Now in the NFL, I believe, started to institute once the Kaepernick thing happened to do the anthems before 1:00, so nobody saw the players.
Right.
And nobody saw the players either kneeling or not kneeling. They didn't want that optics, so whatever. I mean, I have no problem. And honestly,
I see both sides of it. I do.
The one thing that's nice this year is that in every game, it's one anthem. It's, because in Canada, it's the 7 Canadian teams, so it's just the Canadian anthem, not singing the U.S. national anthem. And in the U.S., it's singing just the U.S. national anthem and not the Canadian. And even in Buffalo, when they play a U.S.-based team, they play both anthems because half of their season ticket holders are Canadians. So,
I mean, look, I don't want to put anthem singers out of work either because, like Lauren Hart, that's her job. There's plenty of them that's their job. But maybe they should do it with no players there at like 5:30.
Or maybe do it just before the players,
come on the ice.
Right. Do it
at
6:55.
Yeah, or that too, yeah.
So, all right. Hello, Hockey World. Today is Wednesday, February 10th, 2021.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I'm Michael Agello, and this is the Hockey Buzzcast here on HockeyBuzz.com. All right. We'll start with the story that, of course, broke 15 minutes after we ended the show yesterday. So,
thanks, Berkey.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. Now, it was widely reported and rumored that Ron Hextall would be the general manager in Pittsburgh. It was started to break during the show. We got sort of hints at it in the days leading up to it because we looked at the situation in terms of Pittsburgh and had to feel that a general manager who could build and who could scout and who could develop would be somebody that Pittsburgh would be looking at.
Right.
Now, we also started to hear that there was more than just the GM, that there was going to be sort of a level of stratification. We didn't know what that meant, assistant general managers, or what we found out was a president of hockey operations, which apparently, that was the title folded into what Jim Rutherford had. Well, Lo and behold, like I said, 15 minutes after the show ended yesterday, we find out that Brian Burke, former general manager in Hartford, Anaheim, Toronto, Calgary, used to work in the NHL offices.
Yeah,
Vancouver as well. Thank you. I was missing one. Is now the president of hockey operations in Pittsburgh. He will be working in tandem with Ron Hextall. Hextall will be in charge of the day-to-day operations, and basically it sounds like Burke will be a sounding board. Burke leaves Sportsnet, which he was really good at on the air for 2 or 3 years. I mean, I know there are some people out there that don't like Burke. I personally
he's going to have to comb his hair now.
Well, apparently he's not going to tie his tie now, because apparently at Sportsnet it was an edict that he had to tie his tie. So now he can go back to the classic Burke look.
There were others who had that look before Brian Burke. I believe, like I had seen maybe Dean Martin or somebody like that with that look a few times.
Well, we're not talking about.
But it might have been after he was like out till.
We're not talking about the Rat Pack here, Russ. Jesus, we're talking about hockey. We're talking about broadcasting. Yeah, but yeah. So now, I look at this situation, and I mean, I've listened to a lot of people discuss this, and we know Pittsburgh is sort of in a delicate position because they've still got the core group, most of the core group that won the last two Stanley Cups in 17 and 18. Crosby has a number of years left in his contract. Malkin, I believe, has one more year after this year. Same with Letang. So they're going to have to make decisions on these players. What came out, Russ, was that they're not going to make any snap decisions. They're basically going to see where the team goes, and didn't rule out the possibility of making ads before the trade deadline, depending on where the team is. But I would think that if they're going to make changes before the deadline, it's going to be money in, money out, and not trading draft picks or prospects. But what do you think of who they added and where that franchise is going?
Well, I see Rob Rossi tweeted that Ron Hextall was one of the first people Mario Lemieux mentioned internally. So that's interesting. So Lemieux did have a good input into that. And so he still has good pull there. So that was good to see, because we haven't really heard from Mario in a while. I was kind of getting a little nervous about that. I think this is a good move because, again, I do think Brian Burke is a good sounding board. I think when you let Brian Burke have the whole team, then sometimes you don't like the results. But I think Ron does need to have a sounding board. He remember he had Paul Holmgren here in Philly. And so I feel like, having that older guy who's been around the block can definitely help. And I think Ron he's a very level-headed thinker. The Ron Hextall that you knew on the ice is not the Ron Hextall who's in management. He's a completely different guy. When you meet Hextall anywhere, he's smiling, he's talking to you. He doesn't want to hit you over the head with the hockey stick. But the minute you go on the ice and you try and get the puck away from him a couple times, he wants to hit you over the head with the hockey stick. That's the competitor in him. But he really is a different guy in that regard. And so I do think this is a good match. And I do think there'll be some more people that Hextall work with that'll come in various jobs. And I think this will help give the Penguins a little bit of a jump start. But like I said, I think they're going to ride out this season. Maybe they'll make a trade. Maybe they won't, just because it's a fluky season. But I think things will start at the draft. If there's a draft, I think that's when things will start. Trades. I think the reshaping, if I were them, that's the word I would use. I wouldn't use retool. I wouldn't use rebuild. I would put reshaping. So that's, if Brian Burke wants to use that, go ahead. But I'm just saying that's what I would call it, because I think that's what they're going to start to do.
Yeah, and then next year, I'm just looking at Cap Friendly here. They do not have a first, third, fourth, or sixth. They have a second, a fifth, and 3 sevenths.
Well, if you trade Malkin, you can get 2 of those picks back at least, and a player and a prospect.
Now, after that, they have all their picks. 22 and 23, they have all their picks. So it's purely next year. So yes, they can trade players off their roster before the draft,
and get some of those picks
back. And if the draft is pushed till June or July of 2022, they'll have an entire year to accumulate those draft picks. Yeah. So I mean, that would be an advantage for them.
It would.
But it's funny. Hextall was interviewed on Hockey Central earlier this afternoon, and he indicated that as part of the conversation between him and Mario, it came out that Hextall, by accident, knocked out 4 of Mario's teeth in a game early in his career. And apparently there was no animus there. It was actually an accident. It wasn't something like where he did a Kent Nielsen. It was a follow through, and he just hit him in the mouth.
On a side note, I've never seen Mario have a real discussion with Adam Graves post hockey, so we'll see.
And obviously, he's not going to shake his hand because his wrist is broken.
If Graves shakes his hand, he should turn it a little. Just
exactly. Twist. You're sort of like Rick Vibe shaking your hand.
Right. Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, I overall think this is a positive for Pittsburgh, but I do think, and the one thing I think is for sure is that Burke will not hesitate once a decision is made, and he will back Hextall if the decision is to trade Malkin or to trade Letang. It all depends on, I think they're 5-5-1 right now. It all depends on how this team finishes out the year. I mean, right now, I think maybe it's too early to be convinced whether it was a mistake to trade Matt Murray and to go all in on Tristan Jarry, but it was a financial consideration as well.
It was a financial consideration. Regardless, they were probably going to go that way. They drafted 2 goalies this year. I think in 2 or 3 years, one of them might be good enough to play in the NHL. So
what they should have done, though, is to back up Jarry with somebody, and I'm not ripping Casey DeSmith. Casey DeSmith is
I know, but we knew what he is.
But you needed a veteran number 2 to be able to come in and play games a significant amount, and they didn't get that. And now really,
he's no David Ayers. We'll say that.
Okay.
But I do want to say that for the Pittsburgh Penguins, the first thing they should do is don't align yourself with Primanti Brothers. They're overrated. Go with Burgatory. They're an up-and-coming burger place. They're amazing. Their shakes are amazing. Start getting your identity with them. That's better than Primanti Brothers. If Berkey's watching, go to Burgatory. You'll thank me later.
Okay. All right.
Let's. You didn't go to Burgatory with us at the draft.
No,
you weren't there at that draft, I guess.
No, I wasn't at that draft, and I've only been to Pittsburgh once, which was the
Outdoor game, is that when you went?
No. It was the media day, but before the the Nashville Pittsburgh Stanley Cup, and I think we had lunch, but that was basically.
Yeah, but we didn't get to Burgatory. We didn't know about it then.
No.
It may not have been around then.
No. I don't think so. But
yeah.
All right. Pierre LeBrun this morning, hinted that it says. Just for shits and giggles, here are the points.
It's a friendly show.
Yes, here are the points percentage of each team in each division, which I think is fairly obvious that he's saying, if they can't finish 56 games, I don't think they're going to say we're going to play 48 and end the season early. What I think they're going to do is, however many games are played. That probably satisfies the advertisers in the local municipalities. I mean, if they can't force these teams to play games that are postponed because of COVID, so they're going to get as many done as they can. And if they get as many done as they can, then they're going to have to go to points percentage. And more than likely, in every division other than the North, it's probably going to be less than 56, but the North might have a chance of having all 56 games. Start with the Canadian division. Right now, points percentage. Toronto is 8.808, Montreal 750, Winnipeg 625, Calgary 542, Edmonton 533, Vancouver 0.375, and Ottawa 0.179.
Let's start with Ottawa. I tried to watch that game yesterday. They're almost unwatchable. They are literally, on certain nights, are just that bad. Now, I don't want to say Edmonton was much better.
No.
But Edmonton didn't prove you wrong, though.
Well, no, they didn't. Okay.
For that game, they proved you wrong because.
No. Okay. Excuse me. When the stat was that was the first game that they had won without McDavid and Draisaitl scoring since 2017. So excuse me, I'm freaking right. I'm right.
They proved you wrong. They did it.
4 years. My God. Jesus Christ. But anyway, so yeah, 4 years. It's the first time in 4 years they won a game without Draisaitl and McDavid scoring a point.
Yeah, Pete has hit it. Hogberg is not an NHL goalie. He's really not.
No.
But again, Murray is. But the defense on Ottawa is very poor to mediocre. They
pulled Hogberg after 3 goals on I think like 11 or 12 shots. and they didn't give up a goal and after that. So
in that game, and then the next game they'll give up 6, right? So
right, but they're going to have to, they're going to have to beat Matt Murray into the ground to be able to win on most nights, meaning they have to play him almost every night. I mean, there's got to be an option out there other than Hoberg, but maybe they don't care because they're clearly not going to make the playoffs. So why
make the playoffs? They're making Detroit look like a good team compared to them.
Yeah, it's sad. Okay, Vancouver.
When Mark Stahl scores a goal, you're looking pretty good, Detroit.
Vancouver at .375. We've covered them. It does not sound, in spite of all the hue and cry to get rid of Benning and Green, that they're going to do it. I think they're going to wait until Hamonic is back and they get some of their thing. Is they wait that long,
their season might be over.
Their season might be over with anyway. So
right.
I mean that's the situation. Now again, we have a level here, and we're only a quarter into the season, and things can change. But right now in that division, you've got essentially a top 3 of Toronto, Montreal, and Winnipeg, and then you have a second division of Calgary, Edmonton, and maybe Vancouver if they turn it around.
Right.
Fighting for the 4th spot, unless Winnipeg has a bad couple weeks, or there's significant injuries on Toronto and Montreal. It's going to stay fairly close to that with a top level and a second level.
Yeah.
So there may be trades, there may be some changes with those rosters, but I don't know. I mean, tonight Toronto plays Montreal in a battle of the top of the division. It's too early to say this is really a definitive contest. It's that's the second time they play of 10 games, so we're gonna have lots of Toronto Montreal matchups. But I think we can safely say that Montreal made a lot of improvements, a lot of additions during the offseason, and all of them have turned out well. Edmondson added to Sherratt, Petrie, and Weber makes Montreal's defense big, talented.
When that comes in, like he tells us he's coming in a minute or two, we'll tell him again why we like the Edmondson pickup, because he kept saying, I don't understand why you guys keep lauding that, but we did, because he's really good. He's the defense down. Yeah, big, talented, and tough, and it also doesn't make mistakes. Right, doesn't make mistakes, and it allows them to put Romanov. Or Romanov, apparently that's how he's pronounced. Oh, now it's Romanov. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm saying it's the same spelling as the Russian czars. So he's right. I'm Romanov. With that. Yeah, it's Romanov. Sorry, no, not a friggin' chance am I changing it. But so it allows them to put Romanov. It allows them to put Romanov as in the bottom pairing. And you've got a shutdown pair, and you've got a second and a top pairing that are right now are killing it in front of Carey Price and Jake Allen. So that's why that team is so successful right now, and they're getting scoring from Suzuki and Kotkaniemi, and Toffoli has 9 goals. So I mean it's no secret sauce here. There's no the reason for the success were the good ads that Bergevin made.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Guys, I appreciate you guys. I have a thing with my son today at the hospital, but I wanted to come in for a second and talk about this. And talk about the Burke Hextall thing for a second. Go ahead. Because obviously the big news of the day, I don't know how much you guys got into it yet, but did you guys talk about it already? Obviously?
Yeah, but go ahead.
Okay, so here's my thinking on it. I think there's a couple of fascinating twists on this. Okay, first of all, Burke's history with if you got to go back and what Burke likes, like Burke was obviously he's in Toronto as Anaheim as a GM, wins the Stanley Cup. Very much a company guy. Like when I would talk to him when he was in Anaheim, I went out to lunch with him a couple times. He would be like, yeah, whatever the owner says, I'm going to do that. He's the kind of guy that he believes that the owner is the owner, the GM's the GM, the coach is the coach. He's always around, but he does no nonsense. Obviously, he doesn't believe in people. He's an army type mentality that if you screw us in any way, shape, or form, if you even say something bad about us, you're gone, kind of thing. If you ask to be traded, you're going to be traded immediately. That kind of thing. That's the way Burke looks at it. He's like, you believe in us, you're here or you're not. You're gone. So that's Burke, right? He goes to Anaheim, then goes to Toronto, deals with a lot of stuff in Toronto, right? Like a lot of crazy stuff, obviously, which everybody does in Toronto. Tries to win now, goes out, makes Phil Kessel trade, makes other trades, right? To when they probably needed to rebuild. That was Burke's issue. Obviously after Burke, they said it's going to take time. They made the whole point of saying it's going to take time. Burke never said it's going to take time. Burke's like, we're going to win. But then he hates that situation because he hates that pressure. Goes to Calgary where he's in a really weird position because he's the president. And the Calgary position is the same as this. President of the team with a GM who can take the heat below him, right? And we don't know. And every time Burke was interviewed, whenever he was interviewed, he would always say, well, Brad Travell, Brad's the GM. He's the guy who's going to make the call, right? He was like, that's what he would say. Although you knew that Burke had opinions, but he would never.
He said that in interviews yesterday.
Right.
That, Ron Hextall's the GM. I'm a sounding board. That's basically
right. And that is the way he will have it be perceived, and that is the way he is for the most part, I think. But at the same time, he does bring a certain amount. The great thing about this, so that's Burke in a nutshell. Now Hextall in a nutshell, we've talked about enough that he's like his issue in Philly, where he was great at prospects, was really afraid to trade prospects in any way, shape, or form to get better. Kind of fell in love with his prospects too much at times. Wouldn't make that one move. Was not great at making trades. Hextall really didn't make any trades. You really want to remember that. Like that trade was an incredible trade for the Flyers. Didn't really make any bad trades. I remember either. It just wasn't.
He didn't have money to make trades. Like that was really a big reason why too.
Right, that's a good point.
No cap flexibility for years.
Right, and he had to dig out from that, and he did. He dug out of that and put the Flyers in a much better. The Flyers were much better when they left. Much better position when he left. And he was pissed off at that. He was pissed off that he got fired, and he didn't get a chance to kind of reap the benefits that we're seeing now with the Flyers team that's full of things. But at the same time, when you look at this thing, you say, okay, here's Hextall, who doesn't. The reason he got fired in Philly was not because he couldn't make trades, or not because he fell in love with his prospects, but it was because he was terrible at sharing what his plan was to the people around him, and his communication skills were awful. And of course, he wasn't good with the media. But I don't think that anybody really cared about that so much. That he's good.
I disagree with the media. He used to come into the locker room. He would tell us who's injured.
Oh. He was good with the media, like in that kind of situation, Russ. He was good, but like when you put him in front of a camera at a podium, he wasn't.
No, okay, that's fair.
You know what I mean? But the perception.
You remember, not every GM used to come in the locker room and update the media.
Oh, I know. He actually was very good about it. He would be very honest at times, like
great
honest, but off the record honest too. Like a lot of it was off the record. But the perception of people who watch Comcast Philadelphia was like he's not good with the media because they're like looking at him, whatever. So. Right. So what you have now is you have a guy like that who doesn't communicate well his plan at all on a team in Pittsburgh that has two owners that are very also involved, very much want to know what's going on. So they do the kind of brilliant move of putting Brian Burke in between them and say, okay, Hextall, you can be Hextall, but you're going to have to tell Burke what you're doing. And Burke's going to be able to just, not necessarily overrule Hextall because he's going to say Hextall's a GM, but he's going to be able to communicate. And also, if you want somebody to go on XM to talk about the team, it's going to be Burke, not Hexy.
Right.
And so there's it wasn't Trevor either. It wasn't Brad. It was Burke. So there is some brilliance to that. The other thing about Burke is obviously he's so good. The players really admire him, Burke. They really like him. And they because he tells it as it is.
Right, you just can't give Burke the whole team anymore because that's going to go bad.
Right. But he's a really good moral compass to be at the top of it all.
Yes,
and he's good, and he's old school that way. I loved Anthony's tweet the other day about an ex-Flyer and an ex-Maine Mariner.
Yeah, and he's good at deflecting the slings and arrows that that the media will throw. Yes. But I do think that also Burke was brought in to help with the eventual transition, which you can say right now we're going to stick, and this is what the mantra that both Burke and Hextall said over the last 24 hours is: we're not going to make any decisions right away. We're going to see how this season plays out. Blah blah blah. I mean, okay, fine. I get that. That's the smart thing to do. But
right.
But to take advantage of Hextall's abilities as a developer.
Yeah.
As somebody who has a good eye for talent.
Yep.
You need draft picks, and this team, as we just discussed before, they have no first, they have no third, they have no fourth, they have no sixth.
Well, they've been trading away draft picks for years, right?
Right, and they traded their first away last year in the captain deal. So what's going to happen, Ak, is they're going to make decisions on certain players after this year, and they're going to trade some players for draft picks.
Yes.
I also want to point out one thing. The one thing Ron Hextall did that no other GM was able to do in Philly for as long as I've covered the club, and even a little before that, was actually draft and develop a goalie. Nobody had been able to do it. He did it.
Yeah, and he was actually the other, and I agree, that's a really good point. And I have to go.
They traded up to get him, right?
Yeah,
I have to get him.
A second. Unfortunately, I mean, I agree with what you're saying there completely, and it's a great point. Exo also was arrogant enough to say we're not going to go to try to win now, which was a big thing.
It was a big deal
because you have to remember this is coming in. Hextall comes in an era where Ed Snyder passes away, and that's like that when Ed Snyder's alive, it was always about winning, and it was always about winning now. And the fans for Philly, like it or hate it, that's why Hextall inherited a mess
and
with cap space. That's why Brizgalovs, the things like that we saw, as part of the legacy of Ed Snyder, some of them were terrible moves. Some of them were, but the Flyers went to the Stanley Cup Finals a whole bunch of times. They didn't win another Stanley Cup, but they were in the finals a bunch of times.
Well, and Hextall, I think all of us would agree, if Hextall had not been fired at the time that he was, Carter Hart probably wouldn't have been called up until the following year. And the book is still out on whether Carter Hart, him being rushed.
No, and that's true. Hextall may have been right on that.
The rushing of Carter Hart is still definitely out there to debate, Mike. I'm agreeing with you 100% that there's, there are times when Carter Hart looks fantastic. There are times when Carter Hart looks lost.
Yes.
And there's no question that the times he looks lost, he looks like a young goalie. He does. There's not.
We lost your sound.
We lost your audio out.
There you go, though. I'm sorry.
Oh, there you go. There it goes.
The other thing I was going to mention to you, the dynamic.
Sorry.
Okay. The dynamic.
Go ahead.
Well, we said it already, so I only wanted to say it if he could hear it.
Yeah, we lost your video and audio, X. So
why
don't you call back in if you can hear us? I'll boot him off, and hopefully he'll come back in.
Okay. Because I already said the same thing before, but I wanted him to talk about it because he knew. But anyhow, we'll move beyond that, I guess, right now, and then we'll get back to it.
He may come back. All right. So, but we were talking about points percentage. Let's talk about the East, where the Flyers are in. Boston is leading at .818. The Flyers at .692. Washington at .625. New Jersey at .556. But that's an anomaly because New Jersey has had a number of games canceled or postponed. Excuse me. The Islanders at .545. Buffalo at 500, Pittsburgh at 500, and then there you go. If Pittsburgh is at the same level as Buffalo, that tells you where they are right now. Because Buffalo is a flawed team with some talent, but a flawed team, and Pittsburgh is playing like a flawed team right now. And then the Rangers at .455. Again, you've got a level here. So let's say that probably you've got a top two of Boston and Philly who are at that higher level. There's already, after a quarter of the year, there is some separation.
Yeah, there's definitely some separation. We're at the point now where maybe this jump starts Malkin with the Penguins if he really doesn't want to get traded. Maybe this change now will jumpstart him. We'll see.
Well, I'll put this in here just as a point of conversation here because Cameron Young posted it. He says, I don't know if you all you three heard, but Hextall may inquire about Jonathan Quick coming to Pittsburgh.
I have not heard that.
Okay, I have not heard that, and that would be going against that's a Rutherford move.
No, but it doesn't matter. We can't look at Hextall in definitive terms what he did before because, again, Pittsburgh ownership has a different plan than what Ron was doing in Philly because he had carte blanche. He doesn't have carte blanche here. That's obvious.
Right, but let's just say this. it's not going to be a futures deal. It's going to be a money in, money out deal. That's what it would have to be, because they're not going to trade draft picks.
They're still going to get a good goalie is the point. Because
No. I'm not saying that they won't, but what I'm saying is it's going to come at the cost of trading Brian Dumoulin or Marcus Pettersson. It's not going to be a second and a first in 2022 for Jonathan Quick. It's going to be, Jonathan Quick's salary is 5.8. They're going to have to move something similar in salary out to make that deal, because they don't have any cap space, and I don't think they want to give up futures anymore.
No, I think, and they might have to give up some futures, but not a lot. I agree with that. Do I think that's possible? Sure, but I think they may go for someone less costly than that.
Yeah. Now, Washington's an interesting thing here, because in writing a piece about the players of the week, Vitek Vanacek was 5-0 in his first 5 starts.
Yep.
Since then, he's 0-2 in his last 3 starts. He was pulled in his last game against Philadelphia after giving up 4 goals on 14 shots. They've played him every game, so he's out of gas.
He's out of gas, and also video, right? The more video they get of you when you're playing those consecutive games, the more they figure out what your weaknesses are in this league. It doesn't take long. It doesn't.
In the Central, Tampa Bay is at .864, Florida at .800, but Florida, remember, they played, I think, only 8 games.
Right.
So Carolina at .700, Dallas at .650. Now, this is all, okay, you've got 4 teams over 600 record.
Yeah, those are the playoff teams, right?
What's the reason? Because you've got 2 teams under 400. Nashville, so Chicago's at .571, Columbus at .536, Nashville .385, and Detroit at .286.
I don't think I could express to you in any more certain terms than when I always said I didn't like Saros, but said, all right, he played better last year. I gave him a pass. He's back to being the Saros that I thought he was, and also Rene. And it's like, because their defense is still decent, but the goaltending on that team is just beyond awful. And the problem with that team is, if you fall behind, they probably have it in their heads it's going to be very hard to come back, because they don't have a lot of goal scorers. So that team's in deep, deep trouble.
And now Ryan Johansson is out week to week with an upper body injury. So now they're without their number 1 center. Not that he was scoring a ton right now.
Right. But it just exacerbates their problems.
Right. And Detroit is Detroit. And Detroit is bad. We knew they were going to be bad. I mean, we knew that they added veterans so they wouldn't get trounced. But they're bad. They're not a good team. And I don't expect them to be much better throughout the year, because they're young.
They're not getting better.
Yeah, they're young. Remember, their young guys are playing in the SHL.
Right.
Lucas Raymond and Mort Snyder and Veleno are all playing in Sweden. So, and some of their other prospects are probably going to play with Grand Rapids. So they're not going to expose their youngsters, the ones that are not with the team right now. They're not going to.
The only problem is Ottawa's playing worse than them.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the difference between what 25 and. Or 20 and 18%. So what? I mean, anyway. The West, you've got Vegas at .850, Colorado at .682, St. Louis at .615. Minnesota and Arizona are essentially tied at .544. San Jose is at 500, Anaheim at 464, and LA at 375.
LA's falling back like we thought they would. I think Eck actually thought they'd be better than that, but not playoffs, but better than that. Anaheim's doing pretty much what we thought they would. We didn't think they'd make the playoffs. I don't think there's any real great surprises there, honestly.
No, I think everybody thought that the Vegas, Colorado, St. Louis would be the cream.
And I told you I thought the Sharks could make the playoffs if they got decent goaltending, which their goaltending has been better, and that's a big reason. And Carlson's playing every game, and some of the young guys they brought in have chipped in, and all of a sudden they don't look as bad as they were.
Well, Carlson's playing, but he's not playing particularly well.
Whatever, he's playing. Just having Carlson playing and moving the puck, Mike, is still a plus.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously when the guy's on the ice, you're not thinking about cap hit, but you're expecting a level of performance for somebody who's the highest paid defenseman in the NHL, and he's not playing anywhere close to the level that you would expect from the highest paid defenseman.
I'll tell you who left the ice yesterday, and I felt bad, was Drew Doughty after blocking a shot from Burns. Oh, probably like a 95-mile-an-hour shot.
Yeah.
Oof.
Arizona has won 3 games in a row. They're 6-5-1, and their two leading scorers. Well, one of them is Connor Garland,
right? And
I have to say, Connor Garland is going to get a big payday next year.
As big as they give, yeah.
Well, no, I'm going to say it's not going to be in Arizona because they don't pay.
No, but isn't he still an RFA next year?
He's an RFA, but I'll bet you anything he gets traded because they're not going to pay him.
No, I think they'll keep him, and I think he'll get as much as they plan on giving him. But I think Garland will be there. He's one of their guys, Mike.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'll believe it when I see it when he gets paid. But I don't know. I don't think so. We'll take some questions in the chat.
Positive.
Well, I mean, honestly, the Arizona Coyotes have not given me many reasons to feel positive about their organization. So, just quickly going through the games from last night, other than the Senators losing to the Oilers.
We should start with Columbus, honestly.
Well, yeah, I was gonna touch on that.
Yeah, let's touch on that first, then we can get through the games.
Okay. It came out late yesterday that the Patrick Laine scenario, the situation with Laine.
You wanted to cut me off the screen. You did.
So sorry, no. I
mean, no. I know. It's a cheap trick there, Mike. Cheap producer trick.
The Laine situation was not supposedly based on his play. It was based on him apparently making a comment to an assistant coach. And once that was learned that had happened, that Tortorella benched him for the third period. Now, supposedly, everything is beautiful. Everything is understood. Everything is honky-dory. He's talked to the media this morning and said, we've discussed it in the room. We're moving forward. Do I believe that? No, I don't.
But that's what they're saying, so we have to go with it.
Right. That's what they're saying.
That's what they're saying. We have to go with it, and that's what happened. And Tortorella did the right thing, but I still will tell you, if a couple guys get benched, Tortorella's probably not coming back next year. Like, it's just that's just my feeling. Now, the Koivu thing I'm hearing is based on the fact that injuries have just hurt his play and he just walked away. That's what I'm hearing.
Well, what they said, and I didn't know this, it was the first time that he had been healthy scratched in his entire career, and after he was healthy scratched for the first time, he retires. So
I don't know if that's the reason, though.
Yeah, neither do I. But
I'll just wait until we read about it and finish, and then have to put it through a translator.
Right. So right,
because that's the way it's going to go.
We'll find out in the summer from some Finnish blog.
Yep.
What the real story was. Okay, just
like headline. Lexland or whatever, Lexand, and then we'll, Mikko Koivu retired because, and then we'll know.
Right. Just quickly going through the scores from last night. Florida beats Detroit 2-1 on a second period goal by Patrick Hornquist, who has 6 goals this year.
See, when he threw the Penguins jersey out and he just tossed it in his driveway, he was reborn.
Well, I mean,
he's getting in front of the net. I've watched him, and he's doing exactly what Hornquist does.
I think the fact that he's playing with Huberdeau, and I don't know, I'm not sure if he's playing with Huberdeau and Barkov, but the fact that he's on a top 6 line and he's just going to the net is extremely helpful. The Lightning destroyed the Predators 6-1.
Not much to say there.
Yeah, not much to say other than the Predators are horrible.
That came on, and it was just like a tale of two teams, man. It was brutal.
The Blackhawks beat the Stars 2-1 in overtime on a goal by Pius Suter, who's got 5 goals now. Honestly, I give the Blackhawks some credit.
Mm-hmm.
No Taves, no Seabrook, no Dotch. Patrick Kane has got 17 points right now. Lankinen, the goalie that nobody knew about before the start of the season, Has a really good record, a really good save percentage. He's playing well for them. They're getting production out of Matthias Janmark and Suter and DeBrincat and Stroh. I mean, they're getting offense from a number of areas. I mean, they're not playing badly, even though we don't think that they're that good of a team.
No, but I'll tell you the part that gets me. And if they asked me if I could vote on this, I would. Pius Suter is going to be 25 in May. Calling him a rookie really does kind of rub me the wrong way because 27 is the cutoff, but I do believe it should be before that. I honestly think it should be like 24. I do.
Yeah, I mean, that's the Sergei Makarov rule, wasn't it?
Right, but you have to admit, right, Mike, a 25-year-old rookie, like that's...
Yeah, in baseball, that would be different because you're going through 4 levels of minor league. We're talking about if you're a 25-year-old rookie in the NHL, even guys who play 4 years of college, they're coming out at 22 or 23. This is a guy who's played pro in Europe for 5-6 years. So really, is he a rookie? No. But
he's playing well. He's a good player. So I'll call him a good player. I just don't like it when we're calling him a rookie. And I don't know how I'm going to vote when I vote. Like, I don't. I guess because it's legit, I'm going to give him his due, but I won't love it.
Well, I hope I get a vote for that trophy. It would be the first time for me. The Calgary Flames beat the Winnipeg Jets 3-2 on a goal by Elias Lindholm in the third period. Byron Frazee scores for
Byron Frazee. I haven't seen or heard from him in a while.
Former Leaf, former Hab. It was also
a pretty good shot.
Yeah. It was also the debut of Pierre-Luc Dubois, which is unbelievable. Again,
how did it take so long?
Canada, check yourself.
It seems like months, doesn't it?
Check yourself. The 14-day quarantine is an absolute abomination. I am not being irresponsible when it says, don't worry about COVID. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is 7 days and the guy being tested every day should be enough to tell you that the guy is not positive.
Yeah.
Not 14. The guy's sitting in a hotel for 2 friggin' weeks. It's so stupid.
Yeah, ban Michael Cohen. He's talking about A-Rod now and Derrick Rose. Like
Michael, keep going. I'm going to ban you for life. Okay. Vegas.
One other thing. Let's talk again about how Calgary swindled Lindholm, because they did, man.
Yeah. That was the Noah Hannafin. The Noah Hannafin deal. I mean,
Lindholm was a good player.
Yeah, and the thing is maybe the best part of that deal going back to Carolina was the guy that they couldn't sign, Adam Fox.
Yeah.
So
that's true. I mean, that was not a good trade.
Yeah, I know. Now Vegas beats Anaheim 5-4. Let's see here. Zach Whitecloud with the game winner.
For Zach, I like him.
Now, okay, I heard an interesting little story from Jeff Merrick on 31 Thoughts about Zach Whitecloud, that he went to a number of different training camps, including LA, and didn't get signed. He went to Vegas's rookie camp apparently, and they liked him and signed him immediately. How organizations don't kick themselves when this guy's probably in a few years going to be a top 4 defenseman.
But this happens all the time, Mike. TVR was in Flyers camp. He was at Flyers rookie camp, and they didn't keep him. You don't think they could have used Trevor Van Riemsdyk? No, but they didn't keep him. Who was the player? JT Brown was in Flyers camp. Remember, he went to 6 camps until he caught on. Like, it happens.
Yeah, I get it. Ryan Getzlaf scored his first goal of the year.
Yeah, it's getting late for Getzlaf.
I mean, I
great player, great guy. Like, I'm really a big fan of Ryan Getzlaf.
I wonder whether he's the type of guy who will try to hold on and this will be his last year of this contract, so he's never going to get paid that kind of money again.
I think he'll walk away.
Yeah, you don't think he'll be the guy who signs again with Anaheim for $1 million for a year and tries to, and also the LA Kings lose to the San Jose Sharks 4-3 in a shootout. Evander Kane ties up the game with 45 seconds left in regulation. Dustin Brown with 2 goals. He's got 6 on the year.
Yeah, Brown's been reborn. I mean, he's another one. The last couple of years, there's been an uptick in his game. Maybe his training methods changed, whatever it was.
Now, as Dustin Brown goes up, Jeff Carter goes. Jeff Carter, again, he was my trending down in the West. He has 1 goal in 12 games. He's in -6. He's -5 this week with no goals.
So he's a minus when he steps out on the ice, basically.
Yeah, but maybe not a minus.
Now, Jaromir Jagr is the one who made up that line, but it does fit Jeff Carter.
Oh, my God. Yeah, it's unbelievable. Okay, 2 games tonight. Like I said, by the way, there were 3 games postponed. We're
not going to have time for questions today. I actually have to be promptly off.
Okay. At 2?
Yeah.
Okay. 2 games tonight, Boston Rangers on NBCSN, and the game that means something, Toronto-Montreal.
For Boston, I saw Grzelcyk and DeBrusk were back in, so that's bad news for the Rangers.
Yes. And I just answered this one quickly in the chat. Somebody said, is Scott Sabern going to get back in the lineup or get into the lineup for the Leafs? Not if the Leafs can help it.
Oh, and the other one was for Johnny Red. 100 Ranger Greats is the book you're talking about. It's out of print. If you're having trouble finding it, just go to @Sportsology at Twitter, and I'll get you one.
Okay. All right. We will be back tomorrow with another edition of the Hockey Buzzcast for the departed Eklund. For Russ Cohen, I'm Michael Agello. Thank you for watching. And remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey.